Do you find difficulty in understanding different types of poetry in English literature? Like you're not able to differentiate between a dramatic monologue and a pastoral. Hello friends, my name is Riya Gandhi and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss 5 of the most important types of poetry that are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam and explain them with relevant examples. Type of poetry that we are going to discuss in this video is a sonnet. A sonnet is a kind of a lyric poem that consists of 14 lines structured in iambic pentameter. Now there are 3 popular kinds of sonnets. The first one and the most original one being the Italian or the Petrarchan sonnet. The name of the sonnet derives from the Italian poet Petrarch. Now this kind of sonnet is divided into 2 parts, the octave and the sestet. The 14 lines are divided into 2 parts. The octave is basically a combination of 8 lines with the rhyme scheme of A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And the sestet, which consists of 6 lines, has the rhyme scheme of C, D, E, C, D, E or C, D, C, C, D, C. Now, octave represents a certain kind of problem or an issue, generally of a male lover and who is basically mourning or who is desperately wanting to be with his lover. And the sestet provides a resolution of that particular problem or that particular issue. Now, this particular sonnet was strictly confined to Italy and Spain and those few countries. But then we know with the age of revival, with the age of Renaissance, these ideas, especially the Italian and other humanistic ideas, also traveled to England. The credit of the sonnet form being popularized in England can be given to 2 major poets, who are Sir Thomas Wyatt and Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. Now, Sir Thomas Wyatt is credited for translating the Petrarchan sonnets into English, and Henry Howard is credited for modifying these sonnets. Now, what was the modification that was brought by Henry Howard? Basically, he divided the entire stanza, the 14-line stanza, into 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet. Now this was popularly called as the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet, where the sonnet is divided into 3 quatrains, where 1 quatrain consists of 4 lines with a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, and G, G. And finally, the third type of sonnet is the Spenserian sonnet, which brings a slight modification to the Shakespearean sonnet. As the name suggests, Spenserian sonnet was popularized by Edmund Spenser, the author of The Faerie Queene. So what is this modification in his particular sonnet? Basically, the 3 quatrains are intact with the rhyming couplet, but there is a slight change in the rhyming scheme. Earlier in the Shakespearean sonnet, we had A, B, C, D, C, D, right? But in the Spenserian sonnet, we have A, B, C, C, D, E. Some of the most famous sonnets are John Donne's The Holy Sonnets. We also have the Shakespearean sonnets. Those are Shall I Compare Thee to the Summer's Day and more. The second type of poetry that we are going to discuss is epic poetry, or also known as the heroic verse. Now, it is very essential to establish a difference between traditional epics and literary epics. Traditional epics are also known as folk epics or primary epics, and they are generally the kind of epics that are orally transmitted amongst a community or a set particular region. For example, Beowulf. On the other hand, you have literary epics, which are generally a manifestation of an individual's literary and creative acumen. They are ambitious poetic projects. For example, John Milton's Paradise Lost. At the same time, it is very important to remember that Aristotle in his Poetics, when he was talking about tragedy being the highest form of drama, he said that epic follows the second. Next, there are certain important features that you need to keep in mind of epic poetry. The first one being that the hero will be a certain supernatural, divine, or even a quasi-divine person who will be endowed with supernatural abilities. The setting could be the world, because the world is the stage for them at this point of time, and the action would be superhuman deeds, engaging with again other supernatural beings, and generally it would be the plot of good versus evil. And this particular plot doesn't start from the beginning. Sometimes it starts in medias res, that is in the middle of a particular action that is happening. Not only that, while beginning this particular narrative, the narrator invokes the muse, invokes the guiding spirit to guide them while writing about these supernatural deeds, these supernatural heroes and actions, and to have that poetic effect that they always wanted to in the first place. The next type of poetry that we are going to discuss in this video is an ode. Ode is a very long lyrical poem that is meditative in style. It is generally dedicated to someone, and it is written in a formal, elevated and elaborate stanzaic pattern. There are various kinds of odes that are very popular, including Pindaric odes. As the name suggests, it derives from Pindar's odes, and who generally wrote them in order to praise someone, in order to glorify someone. When I'm talking about the Pindaric odes, it is very important to remember that they were later introduced in England by Ben Jonson's to the memory and immortal friendship of the noble pair Sir Lucius Carey and H. Morrison. Later, we also see the emergence of irregular odes that were later introduced by Abraham Cowley in 1656. You also have the Horatian ode. The Horatian odes are again modeled on the poet Horace, which are very calm, meditative and colloquial in manner. When it comes to odes, and especially the romantic odes, the first poet that pops up in my mind is John Keats. Some of his most famous odes are Ode to a Grecian Urn, Ode to a Nightingale. You also have Percy B. Shelley's Ode to a West Wind. Now, when you're talking about these romantic odes, they are very colloquial in manner because they talk about the outer landscape, they talk about the outer life, and they are meditative in talking about the glories of nature. The penultimate type of poetry that we are going to discuss in this video is a dramatic monologue. Now, to understand dramatic monologue as a type of poetry, let's understand each word. Dramatic basically means an exaggerated portrayal of emotions and feelings. Monologue refers to a lengthy speech by a single person. Do we all agree on that? Now, when we combine these two words, it basically means that it is a lyric poetry in which the speaker reveals, uncovers their emotions, feelings in a very dramatic manner. Now, it is not necessary that it portrays only one kind of emotion like love. It can be any kind of emotion like jealousy, envy, anger, madness, insanity, and more. When I think about dramatic monologue, the first person that pops in my mind is Robert Browning. He has perfected the dramatic monologue, especially in poems like Porphyria's Lover, Andrea del Sarto, Fra Lippo, My Last Duchess, and more. Robert Browning is one of the most prominent poets of the Victorian age. Certain features of dramatic monologue that set it apart from other types of poetry are, first of all, as I said in the video itself, that it is only one speaker. Now, this speaker may not be the poet. It could be anyone. And this speaker is possibly talking to another person. And even if the other person is not present, it could be a reader, it could be us. At the same time, the main focus of the poet to depict a dramatic monologue of that particular character is to showcase and express his temperament and etch out his personality. In the modern age, T.S. Eliot wrote a dramatic monologue. It is considered to be one of the most famous and the most important monologue from UGC NET point of view. Please mention it in the comment section below that which dramatic monologue of T.S. Eliot I am talking about. The last kind of poetry that we are going to discuss in this video is pastoral poetry. Pastoral poetry again refers to a kind of poem that idealizes, that glorifies the lives of the shepherds and glorifies the rural countryside. Now, pastoral poetry was in and out of vogue in English literature ever since Renaissance literature, especially when Edmund Spenser published his The Shepherd's Calendar in 1579. Now, one of the strands of the pastoral poetry is a pastoral elegy. So, elegy we know is a mourning poem, and pastoral is a rural countryside kind of a poem that glorifies the lives of the shepherds. A pastoral elegy combines both of these themes together. It is talking about death, but also focusing upon how the death disrupts, or whether death disrupts, the tranquility of a rural countryside. Some of the features of a pastoral elegy that sort of marks it away from other kinds of elegies is, first, it gives voice to a shepherd. Secondly, in the middle of a pastoral elegy, you will see a funeral procession or something of the sort that is happening. At the same time, there is an invocation of the muse, which is kind of similar to the epic poetry also. So here the narrator will always invoke the muse before beginning a particular pastoral elegy. The best example that I can give you of pastoral elegy is John Milton's Lycidas. Lycidas was written by John Milton in order to commemorate his classmate, his friend Edward King, who died in a shipwreck. These were the most important types of poetry that are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam. If you want to understand other types of poetry as well as get a knack of all kinds of poetry in all ages in the history of British English literature, don't worry, I've got you covered. In my live classes for UGC NET English exam preparation, I am covering every age, every period of the history of British English literature, Indian English literature. And not only that, but I'm also breaking down the complex concepts of literary criticism in a very simplified manner. Since these are live one-on-one classes, you can expect a personalized guidance tailored to your needs and requirements, trying to fill the possible gaps in your UGC NET English exam preparation. If you want to know more about the courses I offer, the sessions I take, you can check out my TopMate page. It's topmate.io/Riya Gandhi. I've shared the link in the description box below, so don't forget to check it out. That's it for today's video, folks. If you found this video on the important types of poetry informative and helpful for your UGC NET English exam preparation, please like it and share it with other UGC NET English aspirants as well. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out any videos that I will be uploading on such important concepts and topics in the future. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.